the right shoulder here. Now going to do a foot bail.
Getting
at least
out
a
on the
lot
freeway?
of individuals making
Whoa,
a right.
two
Well, at
people.
least three people. Three
And they're
people
still
running for it. The
driving.
driver continues on.
Wow.
So now that CHP unit's going to say, hey, what am I going to do? I'm going to track this guy still and alert the law enforcement helicopter and other ground units to hopefully pick up those 3 other individuals that were passengers inside that vehicle. 3 get out. This is the Gore Point, so tight there.
Wow.
710 freeway. This is a freeway that is populated by big rigs, and he is doing what, or she is doing whatever they can to get away. Hey, they have their hazards on, though, so we can keep an eye on that vehicle here. But a busy stretch of the southbound 710 coming away from the 60 freeway.
Rick, have you ever seen that before, where they jump out on the freeway, start running, and then the car keeps moving? I mean, that's quite something.
I have seen pursuits, yes, in which there were passengers, one, perhaps a couple, that were dropped off, so to speak, and the driver continued on.
But on the freeway?
Yeah, yes, on the side of a freeway, on the right shoulder, on surface streets as well. This doesn't even appear, this is not a carpool lane. It's just a left shoulder buffer zone, as we call it. You know, that K-wall, that concrete barrier between the northbound side of the 710 and the southbound side of the 710. And this is the southbound side of the 710 freeway here, coming away from the 60. Stop and go traffic, busy. He's going to needle his way through. Oh,
yes.
Cutting it close with that box truck. Again, precision driving by this suspect who is believed to have stolen that vehicle. At least 4 occupants in this vehicle at one time. 3 got out of the car. We saw it. We watched it live from Skyfox with our Extreme Nav system. And now at least the driver, obviously, in this vehicle. Unknown if there are any other passengers.
Well, so now we have 2 investigations working, right? We have, obviously, law enforcement officers going after the 3 individuals who exited the vehicle right near that off-ramp, probably about a mile back. So now there's the hunt for those 3 suspects.
710 and the 5.
710 and the 5 on the shoulder. As Rick pointed out, this is not a carpool lane. And then of all Tuesdays, I mean, we led the newscast with how busy of a Tuesday drive this is, because we are just hours away from the Thanksgiving holiday.
Here we go
as
again.
This suspect weaves in and out with those hazards on. You wonder, Rick, if they know that the hazards are on.
Yeah, unclear. All this suspect is trying to do, and so many people ask, why do they run? Why do they go? Because they're still out of custody. Obviously, they're guilty of something. They were lit up. They didn't pull over, and the pursuit was on. South 710 at Washington Boulevard, just coming away from the 5 freeway. A busy stretch of the 710 freeway. This is that stretch of the 710 that connects the harbor, the Long Beach and LA harbor areas, the busy cargo that comes in and out of those harbors. That's why it's occupied by so many big rig trailers.
Yeah, you know, every Tuesday before Thanksgiving, traffic is usually the lead story, with the chopper shot showing all the people on the road. We've never covered it like this before, though. This is a whole different way of covering traffic on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, as this person weaves in and out of traffic. The other thing that's of note, I think, is because those 3 men jumped out of the vehicle, if they've caught up with those guys, that may give law enforcement a better sense of who is in this vehicle.
Sure, and we don't know if they were all men. You couldn't necessarily tell that, but regardless of that, that would give them some leads on who is behind the wheel.
Yeah, it is possible also that this was a carjacking and those individuals were being held in the car and they were released from the car.
You're right. That is a possibility. Good point there, Alex. Into the Gore Point here, avoiding the traffic. That CHP SUV was on just a few vehicles behind, and now this is the southbound side of the 710 coming away from Washington Boulevard in that buffer zone, that Gore Point, that narrow area, and he's just trying to get around every vehicle, trying to avoid law enforcement. There's a helicopter up ahead as well, above at a very low altitude, perhaps just a few hundred feet, illuminating the scene here. That vehicle, that smaller sized SUV with its hazards on, now in that left buffer zone on the southbound side of the 710, adjacent to the K-wall. Again, that concrete barrier that divides the north and southbound side of the 710. A dangerous pursuit for these motorists. And Alex and Marla, I always mention, if you ever encounter anything like this, do the best you can. You can't do it here in this type of traffic. Try to pull to the right or to the left. Give law enforcement plenty of space. Make it safe for yourself. Don't try to be a hero.
Well, when we talk about strategies to bring this to an end, because there does come a point, Rick and Alex, that we know that law enforcement will back off just because it's just too much of a risk to all the innocent drivers out there, especially on this Getaway Tuesday. So now it seems that the strategy here for law enforcement is to from the ground. They do have that night sun, and so they will continue to track the suspect, but at the very least perhaps give them the indication that they backed off so as to not endanger more people than they really need to.
And traffic's going to be bad this entire stretch of the 710. There may be areas where it loosens up a little bit, like right here, but I see some more backups, some stop-and-go action coming up ahead. Atlantic Bandini, this is a busy industrial stretch of the Los Angeles Basin adjacent to the LA River. The LA River being on the right or the west side of this area of the 710 freeway southbound, heading towards Cudahy. The next freeway would be the next freeway interchange, which would give an option to this individual being pursued, would be the 105 freeway. After that, the 91. Then you get down to the 405. Then you get down to the harbor area. As I had mentioned, a very busy area down there in the Long Beach and Los Angeles harbors, where all that cargo comes off those cargo ships from across the Pacific Ocean. Those trailers, big rigs pick that cargo up and make their way north and southbound on the 710 freeway to deliver those goods.
So you got a mix of a whole lot of people on the road right now, people leaving for the holidays, people leaving from work like a regular day or for school or for other events that they're going to tonight, people going out to do their holiday shopping potentially, all mixed on our Southern California freeways, all now potentially coming you know, face to face with this vehicle that is driving through traffic. It is challenging, Marla, to your point. If you're law enforcement, do you try to weave your vehicle through this like Frogger game that's happening right now with this car going in and out of traffic, or are you potentially putting people in danger in trying to do it? It is remarkable so far, Marla, that we have not seen this car visibly badly damage another vehicle, may have barely clipped one of these vehicles, but given the maneuvers that we've seen so far, it's quite something that a car hasn't been badly hit.
And then, Rick, when we're so close to the shot like this, you can see the night sun from authorities above, shining the light there on it, noting that this vehicle has its hazards flashing all the while. It's hard to get a sense of the backlog of law enforcement officers because we can't see what's trailing, so it's hard to see if there are tons of black and whites trailing behind, to Alex's point, how they're going to think about bringing this to an end, because they strategize, Rick, about maybe we'll do some spike strips ahead, maybe we'll, obviously it's too dangerous for a pit maneuver, so on and so forth, but I guess the idea would be to get this guy off the busy freeway and onto surface streets, perhaps.
That's right. 710 southbound, by the way, if you're just tuning in now at Firestone Boulevard, we saw this pursuit on the 10 freeway and make a dramatic transition onto the southbound side of the 710 near California State University, Los Angeles, for a time driving the wrong way on off-ramps, but making their way on the freeway. This suspect did on the off-ramp there on the 10 freeway, and then went down an on-ramp area, picking up the southbound side of the 710, and that's where we picked this up at this point. In fact, here it is. This is the point I was just making. That's an off-ramp there. That's an off-ramp from the 10 freeway westbound, driving against traffic. Even a CHP or a law enforcement unit right there, a cruiser, they decided to off-road it there, make its way down the bank, and then get onto a legitimate off-ramp there and make the transition over to the southbound side of the 710. Then down towards the 60, down towards the Commerce area, Atlantic Bandini, now into the Cudahy area, upper left corner, that's live. The big right box there on the side of your screen, that was that dramatic move that we just spoke of.
All right, looks like we're getting off the freeway here, Marla.
But this is the bigger box. This is when those three others, 1, 2, 3,
Looks
exit right there. And now we've picked it up live on the smaller screen there. So you saw those three suspects get out of the vehicle. Then we assume that it's just, yeah, that was just a tight squeeze there off the, onto this on-ramp here. This is what, Firestone Boulevard, State Route 42, the Southgate, East Los Angeles area. So yes, 3 people got out of the vehicle at one point. We assume that just leaves the driver, but that's an assumption. That's all we can do at this point in time. We do have Dennis Zine on the line with us, who, of course, is years of experience chasing these bad guys on the streets. Dennis, thanks so much for being with us. What do you make of this? And given how busy the roads are now that we are on a service street, nonetheless, what is the best strategy for law enforcement?
Well, the best strategy is to protect the public, and that's what they emphasize, to protect the public. At ultimate cost, you don't want to injure the public. You don't want the individual that's being chased to hurt anyone, getting involved in a collision. So jeopardy is of great concern, and they emphasize that over and over on pursuits, is make sure the public's safe. And you have to go into a tracking mode, you got an air unit overhead. So ultimate concern is for the public safety. They want to apprehend the individual.
Okay.
But
Against traffic.
We're going again wrong way.
And trying to get in the right way.
Oh!
That was another close call there on Firestone Boulevard. This is a busy industrial area. Firestone Boulevard, an east and west major thoroughfare off the 710 freeway. And he made his way west on Firestone Boulevard from the 710 freeway. Dangerous moves again, but as you had mentioned, Alex, it's amazing. We haven't seen any major strikes, meaning that suspect has, you know, gingerly skidded between other vehicles, but we have not seen any significant impact yet, thankfully. So hopefully nobody's been injured in this.
Quite a skilled driver that we've seen so far. Dennis, back to you quickly.
yes.
The challenge of this much traffic, because this is one of the busiest days of the entire year on the roads. He's right in the middle of rush hour when this is happening. How does that change what LAPD does?
Well, LAPD, again, is the concern. We'll let the individual flee, let him go, catch him later, get the license plate, et cetera, go into a tracking mode. The ultimate concern, and we've seen some tragedies occur with these pursuits, is public safety. They don't want some innocent individual getting involved in this situation, so they'll back off when they do. Years past, we never backed off. We would continue with them until we apprehended them. The new philosophy is protect the public and don't let the individual cause damage or injury to an innocent person. As we see what's happening with this, if we had a motor officer may be behind, and I rode motors for a number of years. But the fact is, this particular situation with the traffic, it's very, very dangerous. But police activity is back off if you need to back off. As long as you got a bird overhead, that's what you need to do to track them.
I mean, it's very dangerous, though, considering that this person has repeatedly driven the wrong way against traffic and has made some wild moves.
Obviously, they're wanted for some serious charges. They wouldn't be driving in this manner. But the more pursuits we see, the more ridiculous they get. Again, another jeopardy of public safety with the particular situation. They just don't care.
Yeah.
So what is the best, having done this for so many years yourself, Dennis, what is the best strategy right now? Do you think it's more appropriate to back off as the driver's now picking up some speed here?
Well, they're going to back off, but they'll have the air unit overhead. They're not going to let that air unit go. The air unit will stay with the individual. And now as we see how the individual is acting in a bizarre fashion, we've got 3 people who fled. There'll be units chasing those individuals. Hopefully there'll be multiple air units overhead. But this individual is wanted for something very serious. It's not just a traffic violation. They're wanted for something very serious to drive in this pattern, this behavior pattern, which is extremely dangerous for everyone. But again, the units want to protect public safety. They want to apprehend, but at the same time, they don't want an innocent person getting hurt.
And one more thing, Dennis, before we let you go. What did you make of that maneuver when 3 people jumped out of the vehicle on the freeway and started running?
Well, obviously they were talking, it's time to split, so let's get out and we'll let the driver continue. There may just be the driver, may have a passenger or 2, but it reminds me of the smash and grab. This is the kind of situation where you got multiple suspects getting a smash and grab, a lot of jewelry, et cetera, and they take off. And this may be I don't know what the pursuit is for, but it may be, well, they say it's a stolen car, but it might be more than a stolen car, because this kind of driving pattern tells me it's more than just a stolen vehicle.
All right, Dennis Zine, thank you so much for your insights.
You're welcome.
And I just want to correct the record. I was saying LAPD. This is right now being led by the Sheriff's Department, the LA County Sheriff's Department taking the lead on this pursuit. Been tough for us to tell because we haven't seen any of the vehicles close behind this vehicle for some time now, Marla.
But Alex, to your point, though, when we're on the, and Rick, you can back me up or not on this, when they're on the highway, that's California Highway Patrol, and then now we're back on the service street. So does that mean then that the Sheriff's Department then picks it back up? It's sort of a ping pong?
it's all hands on deck. Whatever law enforcement is around, now that we are in the Southgate area on the westbound side of Firestone Boulevard, having exited the southbound side of the 710, it appeared to me that there was some CHP units involved at some time, but there's a large area of the Los Angeles basin and the greater Los Angeles area that the policing comes from the Sheriff's Department. Making a right, which would make it mostly a northbound turn there off of Firestone Boulevard onto Otis Street, now picking up speed. We saw that backup, Alex and Marla, on the southbound side of the 710 freeway against traffic again there, traveling northbound and southbound lanes. He saw that backup and didn't want any part of it, so exited the southbound side of the 710 at Firestone Boulevard, then onto Otis Street, now making a left-hand turn, which is a westbound turn onto Independence Avenue, a busy mixed area as I look at my real-time traffic system and maps here. Residential, apartments, single-family homes, and some industrial complexes as well, mixed in with some retail units.
And we're seeing those speeds now pick up above 50 miles per hour. Just a moment ago, it looks like crossing through an intersection.
Red light.
Going through a red light, and Rick, you always point out that every infraction is taken note of.
That's right.
By law enforcement, because they are keeping track. It's hard to keep track, though, when there are so many infractions.
The most recent pursuit that, you know, with all my years flying up in Skyfox and covering these pursuits, about 20 years, the one that we saw with the multiple stolen vehicles, that one was definitely one where that driver, already a felon, racked up a number of other felonies in that process there. So you're absolutely right. Running a red light, they can knock that down. They can add up as much as they can to push the charges, to hopefully keep these guys out of jail, because we heard so much, especially during COVID, that there's they catch them, they put them in jail, and they're released on the same day or night. And we just don't want that. Okay, foot bail, left the car, car's still running.
With the car
driver's going. On the corner of Elizabeth and Liberty here in the Southgate area, very not well illuminated area here. And there he's on the run there. He is on the run. Now this is where it gets dangerous again. There was no need to actually exit the vehicle.
Cat there.
But this is the situation we saw with that pursuit. Going to a home, you know, perhaps, and having an altercation with the homeowners, the people residing in that unit. This is so dangerous. We don't know, Alex and Marla, if this individual is armed. Police have to assume that they are.
And we also don't know if this person has a connection to this neighborhood or not, or if this was just randomly the place where they chose to foot bail. We understand that the vehicle itself kept moving and crashed into a tree. So there was nobody else apparently in that vehicle.
Good.
And now this suspect, and if you know anybody that lives in this area, please give them a call, give them a heads up.
Doors
Keep
and
their
windows locked.
locked, because this is very dangerous. We saw during that pursuit recently that Rick was mentioning a similar situation to this, where the suspect got into, we hope that a similar situation doesn't happen here. We also don't know, Rick, is this suspect armed?
That's right. You see a lot of activity in that home there on the far left side of your screen. Law enforcement has to assume they are, but if you live anywhere near, again, we will reiterate this, Elizabeth and Liberty, stay inside, doors and windows locked. Keep your phone on and call 911 if you see anything on your property there. But a lot of areas to hide. The night sun is on this area, as you can see there, looking for that suspect. Some movement there in the back of that house with the windows on. We just saw that. Unclear if that's related to that suspect on the run. 4 people inside. It appears that they were all males. 4 males inside that stolen vehicle. That's why they were pursuing this individual. Unclear what happened with that incident, how it really started. If they were just going to try to do a traffic stop, they ran the plates. That vehicle came back as stolen, and the pursuit was on. Bottom line, there were 4 males that appeared to be inside that vehicle. We saw the foot bail of the 3 passengers about 20 minutes ago or so, and now we just saw the driver commandeering that vehicle hop out of the vehicle. There it is right there on the corner. There it is. We'll show that to you. And we're hearing nobody was hit, thankfully. But they got that scene.
Looks like it ended up on the sidewalk into some bushes. We're hearing that the sheriff's deputies down below were able to clear the vehicle, so that would be considered a code 4, where the vehicle, we know that no one else is in it. They've looked in the trunk. They've made sure. In the meantime, the search is on for the driver. It's difficult. I mean, even with the night sun, with the shadows, and it's confusing. And then this is also when we can misidentify if there's somebody innocent just in their backyard this time of night. It's not late. It's 5:30 in the afternoon.
And human nature would be, oh my God, there's all these helicopters in my neighborhood. I hear all these sounds. I want to see what's going on, right? And then some people may just look outside to try to figure out what's happening in their neighborhood. It's interesting that of all the places we were on this pursuit, this was among the darkest areas where this person chose to stash their vehicle. Another danger, Marla, in being in, quote unquote tracking mode for the sheriff's deputies is there weren't a bunch of vehicles right behind this car. So when this guy gets out of the car and goes on the run, there's nobody right there to stop him. So he's able to get out of the vehicle and essentially, potentially hide in one of these homes.
And what we just showed you on the bigger portion of your screen was earlier in this pursuit when the driver was going the wrong way and then down a hillside, sparked some flames, and then carried on. And that was one of the more memorable moments of the pursuit. There was also the moment that those 3 passengers foot-bailed.
Right here. This is what happens.
Yeah, that's where this is coming up right here on this on-ramp. You'll see 3 individuals take off, get out of the car, and then that's when this pursuit carried on. See that passenger door open? 1, 2, 3. There you go.
All appeared to be males, unclear, but 4 people inside that vehicle. The driver continued on. Those 3 passengers bounced out and were on the run. Unclear if they were apprehended yet. Now they're just searching this neighborhood. Again, with our Extreme Nav system always on it for you here at Fox 11 with SkyFox and our technology, Elizabeth Avenue at Liberty Boulevard here. If you're anywhere near this area, if you live in this area, you can see all the law enforcement. Doors and windows locked. Keep it low, keep it quiet. If you see anything on or near your property, call 911 immediately and alert these deputies, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Deputy Department. If there was a lead agency with this stolen vehicle, we haven't ascertained that yet, but they could be on it as well. I know that CHP was on it for a time, but you can see they're setting up that perimeter. We use that term a lot. There's a law enforcement helicopter there crossing our screen. We talk about perimeters with wildfire, setting that line, that circle around the danger zone. And that's what they're doing in this neighborhood, setting up units in and around the neighborhood, trying to seal off that area so that that suspect can't leave that area and they can contain that individual in this neighborhood in Southgate.
So this could take a long time. It could take hours to try to go through every one of these places door to door, make sure that the deputies themselves don't put themselves in danger, especially not knowing if this person is armed. We are going to monitor this. SkyFox is staying above this. If we get some resolution here, we will go back as soon as we get that resolution. In the meantime,